Home brewing is dying. Actual data. So we're celebrating by brewing up a winter lager. Before we get to the bad news though, let's get the beer started. To keep things chronologirated, let's start from the very beginning, which is with the yeast starter. We're out of Mythical Hammer yeast, which is what we want to use for this beer. However, we did ferment some cider and a cold IPA with Mythical Hammer, and at the bottom of those kegs is a big old fat yeast cake. The dip tube on our kegs goes all the way down into the slurry, which makes it darn tootin' easy to become a yeast farmer if you're so inclined. All you need to do is squirt a little bit of the beer from the bottom into a test tube and toss it on a sweet clawhammer stir plate, and you're off to the races. You'll have yeast babies galore in a couple of days. So we're using a can of proper for the starter, which makes the process really easy. The proper is about 500 milliliters, and we added another 500 milliliters of the beer slash slurry from the keg. Is this the correct ratio of slurry to starter?
I don't know!
And I don't care either, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna make beer either way. So place your bets in the comment section on whether or not this is gonna work. All right, 2 days later, and it's time for the actual brew day. You know it's gonna be a good day when Emmett shows up on his moped. Speaking of, I'm Kyle, this is Emmett. We're at the Clawhammer Supply global headquarters in beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. Our story is a story of two guys who started at the bottom and with a lot of hard work, continued along the bottom, then with a lot of grit and determination, finally ended up at the bottom, apparently. Because according to Google Trends, homebrewing is not doing very well right now. Okay, we're getting closer to the bad news, but we need to get the beer started. So let's get some water in the kettle. We have fancy brewing software that tells us exactly how much water to add, but since I'm in charge of this, I can do whatever I want, and it's not watching, so I'm gonna add 7 3/4 gallons. So we're shooting for a mash temp of 155 degrees. I'm gonna get this dialed in on the controller, and then before we do anything else, I need to clean the floor. Our floor is still wrecked from the 50 gallons of cider experiment we recently did. So shout out to the most valuable thing I've ever bought and to by far our best employee, RoboMop. All right, we're on our way now. We can talk some trends. So let's see here. According to Google Trends, searches for home brewing have been steadily declining since about 2011 or 2012, depending on which search terms you're looking at. And it's not looking good, folks. This is a relative scale where 100 on this scale represents the period of time where there were the most searches for how to make beer. 50% on this scale would represent half as many searches for that. So as you can see, it's been on a steady decline, more or less since about 2011. Now, why? Is beer becoming less popular? Let's look at a search graph for the term brewery. Beer is slightly less popular right now than it has been over, say, like the last 5 or 6 years. Well, let's put both of these graphs on top of one another. Searches for the term brewery has had an inverse relationship to search traffic for how to make beer. You know, people used to make their own beer at home because options at the store sucked. Options at bars sucked. It was either Bud or Miller or Coors or Busch or some other version of crappy, tasteless beer. No offense if you like that beer. I drink it from time to time myself. But there's just not a lot of variety there. That is why homebrewing is not as popular as it used to be. There are just so many amazing opportunities. I mean, it's not like this in every town, but here in Asheville, there's a brewery on every corner. In my opinion, that's what's happening here. But I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. So whether you think I'm right or wrong or not, you know, just leave a comment. All right, back to this cold weather depression beer. Homebrew is dying, drinking season starting. Emmett just began growing out his winter beard yesterday. So it looks like we crushed about 6 pounds of pale malt, 2.5 pounds of Munich, about 1.5 pounds of red malted wheat, just over 1 pound of Crystal 40, and 1/4 pound of Carafa 2.
Greens.
Then we mashed for I think 30 minutes, which we found does the trick most of the time. After the mash was done, we pulled the grain basket, and what I did was I set the controller to full power to get it up to a boil as fast as possible, but I also set an alarm for 200 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so we added hops to this beer, a small amount of hops, an indeterminate amount of hops. It was Hallertau, I can tell you that. What is it?
Hirschberger. Alpha acid's 1.2.
blown it out.
It smells good.
At the end of the boil is where things started getting interesting. Using the plate chiller that comes with our 10-gallon system, we do sell brewing equipment, by the way, online, climbspot.com. We chilled the wort down to 170 degrees, so essentially whirlpool temp. And we decided to just toss an entire tin of apple pie spice mix into the hop basket. If you've never tried it, it's really good. It's designed for, making higher proof spirits, but...
It smells really good.
You like that?
I do like that.
I put some in a couple of gallons of the cider we made recently. I mean, it was delicious. Now, this is like easily more than 10x of the normal amount of spices you would put into a winter spice ale, celebration ale, whatever. But the whole thing then?
Yeah, dude, we're going all in.
But we added it at the whirlpool, so we weren't boiling it. It wasn't in there very long. We let it steep for maybe a maximum of 20 minutes, and then at the end of that, we pulled the hop silo out, so none of it made its way into the fermenter. We also, and this is where it kind of went off the rails, added a couple of the chili peppers that come in our Firebomb whiskey spice mix, which if you've never tried that, that's great as well. I actually modeled it after Fireball whiskey, which I always thought Fireball should be cinnamony and spicy, but also hot. So that's what our Firebomb whiskey is. It's just like Fireball, but it's got a kick to it because it has chili peppers that are added, and it's really good. We're using our keg fermenter for this one. And PSA, when you sanitize your keg, your bucket, your conical, whatever you're using, add your water first, then add your Star San, okay? Don't do it the other way around unless you want to sanitize your entire kitchen floor. That's what we did. And you know what? This is what I mean by what I said earlier. Never in human history have you been able to just sit and with the click of a button tune into two dinglings such as myself and Emmett who are live streaming the creation of a ridiculous, never before brewed beer. Of course, Celebration Ale and other winter beers exist, but we've added way too many spices, or way more than you would normally add. We're using a really interesting style of yeast that we also pressure fermented. It's experimental, and when you do stuff like this, you're pushing the envelope. We can still keep innovating and pushing and being more creative, and that's what we're doing here at, who knows, this beer might suck, but it might be amazing. It looks like our starter worked. We have plenty of yeast at the bottom of the flask.
Dude, I'm not even lying. I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. Peppers are still just chilling. They've done their job. So after transferring the beer into the fermenter, we added the flask of yeast. We just dumped the entire thing in. We didn't bother to decant it. And we also added a couple of those chili peppers from the kettle into the fermenter. Just because, why not? Why not? Splash in the pot, baby. So we let it ferment in the keg for 10 days. We put, I think 15 PSI pressure on it since we were using a lager at room temp. Drum roll, please. Floating dip tube, yeah.
Whoa, hey now.
Let's back it up. I was worried that, I think we were both worried the spices were gonna kill the head, but dude, that's a head right there.
Yeah, the oils from, I wonder if it dissipates quickly, but...
The question is, how badly did we screw this up?
I wonder if it warms up too, it's a little chilly. I mean, it's not chilly, but
yeah,
as it warms up, probably even get more...
Is that the warming technique? That prepper warming technique?
It felt good. It felt all right.
All right, cheers?
Yeah, man.
Cheers.
Wow. It's pretty nice.
I think we nailed it.
It's like very subtle, but there's a tiny bit of heat.
Yeah.
It's very nice, but it's very nice. Mm-hmm. Man, that is probably one of the best holiday beers I've had. Like, honestly,
yeah,
it's really nice. I could probably put down
a number of these.
six to eight in a session,
because it's clean enough, dry enough, light enough,
and it kind of and I don't know if it's the heat or the ginger or the cinnamon or whatever spice, but it kind of leaves you wanting a little bit more.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
And I think it's kind of the heat for me. It's like, ooh, what is that? I kind of want some more.
Well, cheers. Recipe is on our website. Check it out, clawhammersupply.com.
Hanukkah.